Before we dive in, viewer discretion is advised. This content is for entertainment purposes. What happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved environmental champions walks into what he thinks is a friendly interview only to face the most brutal character assassination ever broadcast on daytime television? The answer will leave you speechless. What you're about to witness isn't just another celebrity spat. It's the moment Leonardo DiCaprio's legendary composure shattered into a million pieces on live television, creating what insiders are calling the most explosive confrontation in talk show history. The Oscar winner arrived at the View studio expecting a pleasant conversation about his latest environmental documentary. What he got instead was a calculated ambush that would escalate from polite disagreement to full-scale warfare in less than 20 minutes. By the time DiCaprio stormed off set, his face purple with rage and his voice from shouting, everyone in that studio knew they had just witnessed something unprecedented. This wasn't a debate. This was a demolition. And Joy Behar, she orchestrated every devastating second. The stage was set like any other Tuesday morning at The View. Studio lights blazed with their usual intensity, casting that familiar warm glow across the iconic semicircular table. The audience filed in, excited for another episode of their favorite daytime talk show, completely unaware they were about to witness television history. Leonardo DiCaprio, dressed impeccably in a tailored navy suit with an open-collar white shirt, made his entrance to enthusiastic applause. He smiled that famous smile, waving to the crowd with the easy confidence of someone who had done thousands of interviews. Why wouldn't he be relaxed? He was there to talk about something he loved. His new environmental documentary that had been making waves in the film festival circuit. The project had consumed 3 years of his life, taking him to melting glaciers in Greenland, devastated rainforests in Brazil, and drought-stricken communities across Africa. He had partnered with leading climate scientists to create what critics were calling the most comprehensive look at environmental challenges ever put to film. As DiCaprio settled into the plush guest chair, exchanging pleasantries with the panel, everything seemed perfectly normal. Whoopi Goldberg welcomed him warmly, praising his latest acting work and his long-standing commitment to environmental causes. Sarah Haynes asked about his experience filming in extreme locations. Alyssa Farah Griffin inquired about the documentary's most powerful moments. The conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and genuine interest from both the hosts and the audience. But those who knew Joy Behar really knew her recognized something in her demeanor. She was unusually quiet during those opening minutes, sitting back in her chair with a thin smile playing on her lips. Her notes lay spread before her like ammunition waiting to be deployed. She barely touched her coffee. Her eyes tracked DiCaprio's every movement with the focused intensity of a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Little did Leonardo DiCaprio know, but Joy had spent the previous evening preparing for this interview with unusual thoroughness. She had compiled a list of what she considered DiCaprio's environmental hypocrisies, researched his investment portfolio, and crafted questions designed not to illuminate but to inflame. The morning's pleasant opening wasn't an interview strategy. It was a trap being carefully set. And DiCaprio, trusting and earnest in his passion for environmental advocacy, walked right into it. The temperature in the studio changed in an instant. Joy leaned forward, that signature smirk spreading across her face like a crack in ice. The shift was so abrupt that the camera operators later said they felt it through their viewfinders. "So, Leo," Joy began, drawing out his name with unmistakable disdain, each syllable dripping with condescension. "You're here talking about climate change again." She paused, letting the word again hang in the air like an accusation. "Tell me, how many private jets did you take to get here today?" The studio audience's cheerful murmur died instantly. DiCaprio's eyebrows furrowed slightly, surprise flickering across his famous features. He had expected substantive questions about the docwar's findings, about the scientists he worked with, about the solutions being proposed. This was something else entirely. "Actually, Joy," he responded, maintaining his composure, though his jaw had tightened almost imperceptibly. "I drove here from my hotel. I've been very conscious about reducing my carbon footprint, which is exactly why I'm here today to discuss." "Oh, please," Joy interrupted with a dismissive wave of her hand. The kind of gesture that erases another person's words from existence. You lecture the rest of us about our carbon emissions while you yacht around the Mediterranean with supermodels. Don't you think that's just a tiny bit hypocritical? The word hypocritical landed like a slap. The other hosts shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Whoopi Goldberg's eyes darted between her co-host and their guest, clearly sensing that this wasn't going to be the usual friendly exchange. Sarah Haynes bit her lip. Alyssa Farah Griffin's smile froze on her face. The audience fell into that particular kind of silence that comes when people sense conflict brewing but don't yet know how bad it's going to get. DiCaprio straightened in his chair, his posture shifting from relaxed to defensive. His voice remained calm, but there was a new edge to it. The first hairline fracture in his diplomatic facade. Joy, I think you're conflating personal choices with systemic advocacy. Yes, I've made mistakes in the past, but I've also donated over $100 million to environmental causes. I've changed my entire lifestyle. $100 red million. Joy scoffed loudly, the sound harsh and mocking. That's pocket change for someone worth $300 million. What percentage of your wealth is that really? She didn't wait for an answer. And don't get me started on that foundation of yours. How much of that money actually goes to the environment versus administrative costs? DiCaprio's hands, which had been resting calmly on the armrests, now gripped them slightly. His knuckles began to pale. I'm sorry. Are you questioning the legitimacy of my foundation? His voice dropped lower, a dangerous register that anyone who knew him would have recognized as a warning sign. The first storm clouds gathering on a previously clear horizon. Because if you are, he continued, each word carefully controlled, I can provide you with detailed financial reports that show exactly where every dollar goes. Joy leaned back in her chair with visible satisfaction, like a chess player who had just executed the opening moves of a winning strategy. She was clearly enjoying this, feeding off his discomfort. Oh, I'm sure you can provide reports. Hollywood accounting is famous for making numbers say whatever you want them to say, just like how you made yourself look like an environmentalist while burning fossil fuels faster than most small countries. The studio audience gasped. Some literally recoiled in their seats. This wasn't playful banter or spirited debate. This was character assassination in progress. Sarah Haynes tried to jump in with a question about the documentary itself, attempting to steer the conversation back to safer waters, but Joy wasn't done. Not even close. You know what really bothers me about celebrities like you? Joy continued, pointing her pen at DiCaprio like a weapon, like an accusatory finger made of ink and plastic. You think because you played someone important in a movie that somehow makes you an expert on everything. You dropped out of high school, Leo. What exactly qualifies you to lecture world leaders about climate policy? The air in the St.